Rick the mycologist, the Asbury Circle.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Ricky D. That song was called Wind Horse. Basically like a serenity song where you know those little Tibetan flags, like not this, but the ones you see on people's porches and they're all over Kathmandu and the Bhutan and what have you. I'm pretty sure they call that a wind horse in certain places of the world. It's a prayer on the wind. Brings me to what I've spoken about before. This whole psychedelic therapy issue. You know, my brother was busting my chops like,
hey man, I saw your vlog, man. You shouldn't be putting that stuff up there, man. You're like just making yourself a magnet, you know?
and I'm like, D, you don't get the whole point of it was I didn't want to write a letter to Rick Doblin. Dear Rick Doblin, dear Roland Griffiths, I can't wait for the war on drugs to end. So I went on YouTube, learned how to grow mushrooms, went back on YouTube, showed them how I did it, and then talked about my experience. Well, that's not really the case. It was the whole thing is many people are doing it. And there was a period where I went through like intensive therapy, which would be like once a month. So for safety purposes, I am not a doctor. And through my research, my whole thing would always be, you're set in setting. And the set isn't just your mindset going into it, it's your intention, why you want to do it. And a part of that set is, you know, making sure there's no schizophrenia in your family or like serious borderline personality disorder. Like I was very concerned about, you know, knowing I really had to scan my family, and luckily the mushroom always loved me. It didn't make me think any grandiose anything, but they loved me every time. Um, Several times I reached the criteria for the mystical experience. I was going to bring out the mystical experience list and all the things that make up the mystical experience. And even if you don't experience them all in one session, doesn't mean you won't benefit from the message. And it's not for everybody. But if somebody is thinking about messing around and they also can't wait for, or they can't afford to go down to the shaman, or they can't wait for these what will be psychedelic spas, I would always say make sure you know where your stuff is coming from, that you have a good source, that there's no molds in it, and you want your set, your mindset, your setting, safe setting, preferably a sitter. You know, after a while I stopped needing a sitter, and then I took a long break. Setting, sitter, your dose, which would be slowly working yourself up to 5, and you don't want to chintz out on a nice pair of eye shades or eye mask. You know, the sleeping mask, don't chintz out, get a comfortable pair of eye shades. Some headphones make all the difference, because when you're with people, you usually have some music playing. But if you could have the headphones, the eye mask, somebody sitting for you, the flight instructions, which would be to float downstream or to be curious into the whole experience, to surrender to the whole thing. And I think I've journeyed well because I like to say because of my previous meditation practice and sitting there with the mind and watching the mind, or just sitting there with empty consciousness, you know, with very little contents in it. I had one time where I pushed it a little far. I never had a bad trip. But I pushed the dose, and it was only up to 7. That's 2 grams over, you know, the ideal mystical dose or visionary dose. And I don't want to color anybody's experience, but I pushed it, and it was just, you know, it was too much stimuli for me. It was too bright. You can't close your eyes because your eyes are already closed. And thus we came up with the word, I got sandblasted with fractals, you know. And I remember after that, I was like, I'm done. I'm not playing Russian roulette. This is crazy, you know, to do this. And then I got my courage back up, and I just didn't push it anymore. And then you wait. You don't mess around with the stuff no more, because you have to integrate what you either learned during the experience, because the implications are deep. But really what you do is you have to come back to a new baseline. And so if you keep just having these experiences over and over and over, I do know people who work very hard, use their minds in a super concentrated way all month, and then break their brains up and break up the patterning so they could have a fresh look at their work. I do know people who do that, but that's not for me. I need to take a long time just for a new baseline to take place. So that's what I would share. You know, you can get that information anywhere, but I am surprised at how few people still don't know about it. Maybe that's because I went and I sought this. I had to seek out this experience. But if the mushroom or the medicine gives you what you need every time, it's obviously that I needed love, because it loved me every time. And I don't have to keep going back to that place. And it's a very benign, it's a very benign substance, because when you come back, you're like, wow, it's me again, the same old me. And it feels like you can't get rid of who you are if you even try to. So it shows you that you come back, consciousness comes back by itself, not because we're clever or intelligent. And yes, we can learn things, but consciousness itself is automatic. And that's pretty much one of the biggest things I've learned outside of the other dimensions that might exist. All the beauty I've seen, all the infinite art I've seen, all the beautiful emotions I've seen, I think what I get most out of it is that when I wake up in the morning, it's like, there you are. And thus our attention and consciousness is kind of like where we're at right now. Where I'm at is consciousness, and there's no effort involved in just simply noticing. It's kind of like, don't think so much. And that's what I got from all those sessions. And it does break up a lot of your beliefs. You're like, I was so firmly rooted in a lot of beliefs, and it shakes them all up. So if you're not ready to question everything you thought about yourself, or the world, or life, or existentialism, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it for kicks. But if you are somebody who likes to journey and can handle something like that, that might be for you. And I would just do it in the safest way, and treat your body good going into it, and treat your body good coming out. And may you journey well. And that's it. Asbury Circle. See you next time. Peace. Oh yeah, one more very important thing. Playlist, playlist, playlist. Easy does it.